So now our wafer has both an insulating layer and a conductive layer on it, but those layers are each covering the wafer as large single sheets. This isn't very useful to us as a circuit because we want to make lots of small wires that can control where electricity is flowing, just like sewers and water pipes control the flow of water through a city, through your house. So to make all these small wires for our circuits, we're going to do something called photolithography. So first let me grab some of the supplies that we'll need from the storage room. And since we'll be working with some liquid chemicals today, I need to grab things for handling liquids like pipettes and some plastic tubs. So lithography is basically a way to take a pattern that we've designed for our circuit and put that pattern onto our wafer. At first that doesn't sound very exciting, but what's amazing about photolithography is that it doesn't take any extra time really or effort to put one circuit pattern on as it does to put a million patterns on. Since it doesn't really take any extra effort, we're going to put patterns onto our wafer for about 100 different types of circuits all at once. And then when the wafer's finished, we'll chop it up into 100 different pieces to get the individual circuits out. The patterns that we're going to use are already drawn on what's called a mask. The mask is basically a stencil that has clear and dark areas on it. When we shine light from one side of the mask to the other side, the dark areas will block the light and the clear transparent areas will let the light shine through to the other side. We'll coat a photographic film onto our wafer first and then place it on the other side of the mask so that when the light shines through the clear parts of the mask, it will hit the photographic film on the wafer and cause a reaction. Since the light is blocked by the dark areas, no light can get through on those spots and there won't be a reaction in the wafer in the spots that are covered by the dark areas on the mask. This will make a lot more sense once you see it taking place. After we're done shining the light, we'll take the wafer with its photographic film and put it in a liquid called the developer. The developer will wash away all the spots that reacted with the light, so basically just the clear spots on the mask pattern will wash away, and we'll be left with a photographic film just in the spots that were underneath the dark patterns on the mask. So these patterns of photographic film are what we're going to use to make the wires for our circuits. This machine that you see me working with in front of you is called a spinner, and it's what we'll use to put the photographic film onto our wafer. Basically, we just need to put the wafer onto this round stand called a chuck, and the chuck has a special vacuum that's going to suck on the back of the wafer and hold it in place while we spin the wafer around really, really fast. So we're going to spin the wafer about 4,000 cycles per minute, which is really fast. And if the vacuum wasn't there, the wafer would fly off the chuck and it might get broken or it might get dirty. So once we have the wafer in place and we've tested that the vacuum seal is good so the wafer is not going to fly off, we're ready to apply the photographic film called Photoresist. So this film starts out as a thick red liquid and we pour it into the middle of the wafer. When we turn on the spinner, the chuck starts to spin really fast and the liquid we poured onto the wafer gets spread out in a very thin sheet that's almost exactly the same thickness over the entire wafer. So this is kind of like what happens when you get on a merry-go-round. When it starts to spin, you feel a push that tries to throw you off the edge. So here we're using that same push, the same physics principle to spread the liquid photoresist out into a thin, flat layer so that we can press the wafer flat up against the mask pattern and that there won't be any gaps in between. So once we're done spinning, we take the wafers off and we'll bake them in an oven for a few minutes to evaporate out any liquid that might have been left in the photoresist film so that it will be nice and dry and flat. And that makes it easier to work with. Then we quickly clean up the spinner and we'll log out so that it's available for someone else to use.